Hi everyone, Freak the lla'Y here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of Charli XCX's Brat, and it's completely different, but it's also still Brat. Here we have a brand new album from pop singer and songwriter visionary Miss Charli XCX, based on the hit album she dropped just earlier this year, Brat. A record that may not have gone #1 on the Billboard charts this year, but still managed to elevate Charli XCX's career to a new level and really become the pop zeitgeist of 2024. After all, we had a Brat summer, not a short and sweet summer, and Kamala is in fact Brat, not tortured. Poet. Again, regardless of how the numbers pan out, with respect to Brat, Charli has a lot to be proud of with this record, both personally and artistically. And she seems well aware of that fact, because this album cycle has certainly proven her to be an artist who strikes while the iron is hot, because the reception for Brat has led to Charli just not removing her foot from our necks, because she's really been taking advantage of this moment to further the Brat agenda, with all the touring and the interviews and the promo and the memes and the remixes, which have all been sort of built into this new remix album here, which will likely be the last major push we are going to see behind this record. This victory lap of a project which, as far as remix albums go, is about as true as branding can get. Brat, and it's completely different, but it's also still Brat. Which, yes, that is the case, because this album is Brat. But it's also completely different.
But it's also still Brat.
Yes, exactly. You get it.
Eggplant.
Eggplant?
I was just trying to guess the color of your underwear.
Put those back where you found them. Look, if you're watching this video, you most likely know what Brat is. You love this record. You know that I love it. Maybe also that I gave it a 10 out of 10. And you most likely also know that a handful of remixes of songs from the original Brat record have come out since the album's release. And these remixes have varied in quality as well as conceptual angles. We got remixes and versions of Brat tracks that kind of seemed like Charli just wanted to do a bit of a crossover and throw down on a slightly new version of the song with artists who there's, like a lot of mutual adoration there, or there's just some friendly chemistry there, some promotional potential, namely the version of 360 featuring Young Lean as well as Robin, and also Von Dutch with Addison Rae, which are both kind of messy and all over the place, but still fun to some degree, and I'm glad they happened. Then there were some other remixes that weren't merely just hyped up versions of original tracks with a kind of altered beat. No, we got other versions of songs where Charli brought into the fold another artist to add to the lyrical narrative of the track itself. The version of Talk Talk featuring Troye Sivan, in my opinion, might be a little blander than the original, yes, but I do like the way Troye adds to the track's themes of anticipation and seduction. I also like the playful, silly, flirty verse that Billie Eilish brings to the table on the remix she's featured on for Guess, and I love the reveal that is presented in the remix for Girl So Confusing, which not only showed us who that song was supposed to be about, but it also brought Lorde into the fold to essentially turn this track from a musical monologue to a thoughtful dialogue, a heartwarming conversation between two alt-pop queens. And we have much the same mix of approaches in this expanded series of remixes right here. We have moments where Charli is doing some kind of cool, lighthearted, playful little crossovers and traditional remixes, like this new version of Club Classics featuring BB Tricks, which I think is more or less aesthetically what most people would expect from a remix of a pop song. It's punchy, it's club-centric, it has a slick guest verse. It's fine, but as good as the production is, I do prefer the original track's super anthemic choruses. Plus, I feel like this remix leans a bit too heavily on vocal edits pulled from 365 narrative anyway. It feels more like a 365 remix in certain pockets. Meanwhile, the actual 365 remix featuring Shy Girl is a total banger. It somehow goes harder with hype synth hits and revving bass in a fraction of the original's runtime. So yes, there are a couple of to be expected, very predictable type remixes in the track list on this project, but most of the tracks on this record feel less like regular remixes and more like narrative extensions of the songs themselves, where Charlie and her guests bring deeper meanings to the original intentions of these cuts, which I think is a level of forethought that a lot of artists don't usually put into their remix albums. You know, just like turning your hit songs into musical epilogues or like the pop star equivalent of director's commentary. Case in point, the Tinashe version of Back to Back, which sees both Charlie and Nashe sort of taking this opportunity to celebrate the respective blow-ups they've had this year and all the hard work they've been putting in to keep that momentum going. There's also the new version of Sympathy is a Knife featuring Ariana Grande, which is flipped into a commentary on the way that the audience and the media can turn against you when you are at the peak of your career, which makes sense given just how much controversy Ariana Grande has been embroiled in the past year, and how the media is wrestling with how to, I guess, frame Charli XCX now at this point in her career, now that her star is rising again. Also, I love all of Ari's little vocal embellishments across the track. The song just has the right amount of Ariana Grande. Not too much, not too little. There's also this new version of I Might Say Something Stupid, which has essentially turned into this piano-backed Matty Healy of the 1975 meditation. His inclusion on this track, I think, is a bit of a nod and a wink, because if there's anybody known for saying something stupid, it's Matty Healy. Regardless, though, it's still a beautiful rendition of the song. Matty and John Hopkins just do a great job of turning this track into an intimate, very low-key little moment that is so skeletal, so stripped back, so tender, with Matty lyrically also wrestling with, in his own way, how he deals with his level of fame, his infamy, as it were. And as long as we're talking about adding to the narrative, there's also this revamped version of So I with A.G. Cook. Now, if you guys remember, the original track was intended to be a loving and beautiful tribute to the late producer and songwriter Sophie, and I love how Charlie and AG essentially flip this new version into like this diaristic, sentimental trip down memory lane that, rather than wallowing in regret, is now reflecting on warm and positive memories that Charlie had over the course of her life with Sophie and Sophie's music. And if there's one more track on the record that I think really succeeds on this front of extending everything about it musically and narratively, it's I Think About It All the Time with Bon Iver. Now, if you remember, this originally was a bit of a shorty toward the back end of the record, where Charlie is giving us this very quick and intimate reflection on her womanhood, on her age, on her career, whether or not there is still any viability in pushing forward in pop music this deep into her life, dealing with the mental stress, putting off becoming a mother, which she obviously expresses aspirations toward doing. And this new version of the track contains further thoughts on that, as Charlie is now not just reflecting on all of those things that she was originally wrestling with on the track, but now also all of the attention that has been thrown her way since Brat has blown up. She now feels the pressure to dig even further into her career because things are going so well. And it's emotionally painful to listen to because her career becomes a prison. But seriously, it is genuinely interesting to hear, especially given just like how radically different her career has become in the last 6 to 8 months, just how her thoughts have changed and developed since the release of this album. Now, there are other tracks on the record that try to dig a bit deeper with varying degrees of success. There's this new version of Spring Breakers featuring Kesha, which I think is a sensible inclusion on that track because in a lot of ways, in terms of her raunchy lyrical style and her overall ethos and aura, Kesha is very much a Brat kindred spirit. The first verse that she delivers here most certainly proves that, but the second is quite obnoxious. The pitchy auto-tune on her vocals is not working all that well, and I really would have rather have had an updated verse from Charlie in the second half of the track anyway. But as imperfect as this Kesha contribution is, it's not nearly as awkward a fit as Julian Casablancas on Mean Girls, and I really do have a love-hate relationship with this version because I like the way the song is totally restructured. I think that's interesting. Charlie's detuned vocals on the chorus are actually really daring and sort of experimental. And Julian's lyrical contributions to the track are not all that bad either. I like that he uses this as an opportunity to paint a picture of a really mean partner who is mistreating him and abusing him, and he's just like internalizing all of this crap. Yeah, for sure. That's really mean. However, the auto-tune on his voice sounds absolutely terrible, and I have no idea why so many of his vocal lines on the track are like ripping off melodic bits from Owner of a Lonely Heart. But yeah, this remix is really a close but no cigar kind of situation. There are some kind of bland and unceremonious additions to the remix album as well, unfortunately, namely Blade and Japanese House on these new versions of Rewind and Apple, which aren't terrible per se, but ultimately are just much more low impact when compared to the original versions. These tracks really had some big shoes to fill, a lot to live up to, and they just did not meet the moment. Those are mostly my thoughts on all these tracks, but I would be remiss if I did not at least drop a mention of this new version of Everything is Romantic featuring Caroline Polachek. And I love how this remix of the track really enhances and focuses in on the track's inherently cerebral montage sort of qualities. I mean, the original track itself feels like a rush of intense lovesick memories, and this new version feels like a lot of the same, but it's presented in this much more sentimental, stark, and I guess skeletal, minimal fashion, with bare chopped up lead vocals at the start, and the instrumental, the whole body of the track builds out as it moves along, with Caroline Polachek's vocals in the background sounding gorgeous, just soaring, incredible range. She sounds like a goddamn cello. It's just such a beautiful and elegant version of the song that I think, honestly, in a lot of respects, is just as good. I mean, as far as musical complexities and nuance, you could even argue it's better. Overall, I will say with this version of Brat that is different but is also still Brat, I enjoyed what I heard pretty thoroughly. It is a remix album, and it's very rare that remix albums are good, or that I go into a remix album with super high expectations. But this new version of Brat really did exceed what I thought it would be, could potentially be. And that's due very much to the fact that most of these tracks don't feel like normal, regular, predictable remixes of the original songs. Once again, like I have been saying, they feel like extensions, they feel like epilogues, they feel like additional music commentary, which I think just adds so much to the record, to the music, and I think it will do the same for anybody who got a lot out of Brat as an album, as an experience. If you didn't, I don't think this new version of the album is going to have much in store for you. However, if you are not on the Brat train yet, there is always time to hop on and listen to the original record, and I am feeling a light 7 on this new, different, but also the same Brat. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best for the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video for you to check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Brat, forever.